Okay, welcome to the latest episode of Data in the Hallway. I'm honored to have my good colleague Arun Vijayraghavan join us today, and we want to talk about data services. So I know Arun, this is something that you're very passionate about. So first of all, welcome and thanks for being on the episode. For people who don't know you, I mean, you've been in the industry a long time, but I mean, there might be other listeners or people watching on YouTube who may not have met you. Just tell us a little bit about yourself and why we're passionate about data services.
All right. Thank you, Ray, for having me on this show. So I'm Arun Vijayraghavan, and I work as a principal product manager for PingCAP. I take care of the developer ecosystem and data services, the topic of the day today. One of the important things that I want to share about my experience, which actually aligns with data services, is where I come from, right? So my background is more being an engineer before I was a product manager. So I spent about 20 years of quality time building applications, right? Most of them were backend applications. And when I say backend applications, applications that interact with database a lot, right? So that is where my experience come from. So and that really was a motivating factor for me to introduce something within PingCAP or TiDB that we are going to talk about today, right? So that background, that experience of building applications, mostly microservice applications, right? So that actually entails what we're going to talk about today. So that experience at large has helped several clients of mine who I've worked with in the past to ramp up and build real-time applications.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think you probably speak for a lot of our users and community members that are using TiDB. I mean, you're developing your applications, whatever it is, generative AI or even fintechs applications, and everyone uses data. Like, I mean, I can't think of any application that doesn't use any data, and then having to deal with data or a database or how to like do analytics or transaction recording, whatever you need to do. I mean, I think everybody has to a certain extent have to deal with database in some form, right?
So I think the database, I have not seen or I have not built an application without a database, to be honest, right? So database is the premise of a lot of these applications. And most of these applications, they need some or the other way to access the data that is stored within your database, right? So those are the access patterns that we're going to talk about today. That's more aligned with what most of our developers also do every day, right? And as myself, like I introduced myself being a developer, I think that is where I spend most of my time developing applications.
Right. So, I mean, data services, like if you talk to people, I mean, it may seem like a pretty generic term, like a general term, but I mean, I think, tell me and the listeners what data service is and why this is important for developers. So
yeah, so thanks, Ray. Talking about data services, I think is one thing, but I want to take a step back, and I want to say that where developers or what developers like to do on a day-to-day basis, right? And with this whole transformation from building or breaking down these monolithic applications into microservices that you would have heard for maybe over a decade, I think developers do a lot of mundane work, like a repetitive work, to convert what they have in a monolithic application into into a microservice, right? So that is the premise or the basis of introducing data services to our audiences, right? Now, we also know that when we say TiDB, we know that TiDB is a product that is built for the developers and by the developers, right? And we really stand by that, what I just said, right? Here, what I want to emphasize is that we do care about our developers, our developer community. And we have built any solution and every solution thinking developer in our mind, right? So that is our mission operandi, right? That's how we
Mm-hmm.
operate, right? We want to cover the developer audiences. Now, when you say database, right, I think people mostly think about database as a place to store data, for example,
Mm-hmm.
right, or retrieve data. But I think what we have done at PingCAP with TiDB is we have extended its capability beyond just a database, right? I think many of us are already familiar with the AI capabilities like chat to query, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's an extension that we have provided where users can
Right.
easily, the one who don't know SQL, they can easily learn SQL, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like using prompts, for example. But
Right.
on the on a similar note, what we have built is this data service platform, which I'm going to talk about, where users can or our developers can easily, quickly build REST endpoints, right? RESTful services, right? So one of the important things that comes to mind when I say data service is PingCAP's mission, right? Our mission is to basically empower our engineers and enterprises to innovate with speed, agility, and scale. I think that goes nowhere, right? That always stays when we build any feature within the
Mm-hmm.
platform. That is very important. Like, how do we empower the developers? How do we enable them to build applications which can be accessed at a or build in a very agile manner, right? And
Mm-hmm.
the solution is also scalable. So with that in mind, that gave birth to data services, right? So
Mm-hmm.
what we figured out, what we found is that a lot of our developer community, they were struggling or they have been struggling to build REST endpoints. They've been doing this mundane task of, say, choosing a framework, choosing a platform, or writing code, repetitive code again and again, establishing
Mm-hmm.
connectivity with, TiDB. Not only that, after they have built this, they now have to deploy it, right? And they have to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that this deployment is at scale, which means it can take any workload, any amount of workload, right? So this is
Mm-hmm.
like a mundane, repetitive, and very intensive task. And at times, I think, and it's like very painful. Coming from a
Mm-hmm.
development background, I can see that it's very painful for developers to basically adopt this and do this again and again for different set of microservices that they're
Mm-hmm.
building or REST endpoints they're building, right? So
Right.
this was the premise, right? Our
Right.
mission aligned with what we do for the developers, by the developers,
Right.
and again, like keeping this in mind and agility, scalability, everything in mind, we coined this platform called data service. Now, data service is fully managed backend as a service, right? It actually
Mm-hmm.
bridges the gap between database and the backend management, right? Backend management is a
Mm-hmm.
uh, big chore of work that developers have to do, right? And
Right.
we are saying that we are going to take care of it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that is what, in nutshell, what data service is.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, because I think, I mean, this is something, I mean, people talk about like whenever people have SaaS offerings, they talk about this all the time. We want to, remove the tasks that you need to do in terms of backend and like infrastructure management. But the data service is a way that we're helping them do that by eliminating a lot of, providing ease of use and so that people can just focus on, you know, upper end of the stack rather than dealing with, what needs to happen in terms of how you manage a database or my analogy typically is like OS. I mean, you shouldn't have to worry about like what happens under the layer of the OS unless you want to. I mean, there are some people who are really passionate about that, but for a lot of people, that's not why they're writing code, right? They're writing code because they want to solve specific problems with their applications. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a good analogy. Actually,
yeah,
uh, when you say putting things into perspective, right? I
right,
think what you said actually makes more sense.
yeah,
You don't want people to think about all these mundane tasks or individual tasks or time consuming tasks, right? You basically
right,
want them to focus on solving business problems, right? That
right,
is where you need a platform that can enable developers, enable organizations to basically,
Right.
leverage a particular platform so that
Right.
they can focus on solving business problems rather than worrying about
Right.
all these nitty-gritty things, right? So that is where
Right.
that's on us, right? So we
Right.
take care of that.
Right. Right. No, that sounds great. So, I mean, you mentioned like chat to query. That's sort of one example. I mean, actually, I mean, you were like intimately involved in the hackathon that just concluded about a month ago. I mean, there are a lot of projects for obvious reasons because AI is a latest shiny object. There are a lot of people that had a very they were addressing a very AI focused use case, but even those that weren't, I mean, I was surprised at how many people were actively like using chat to query to take full advantage of what we have to offer with our cloud offering. But I mean, what are some of the other like use cases or examples that are useful for they'll be useful for a lot of developers when they use our data services?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
see, a hackathon was a very good segue for us to learn
Mhm.
what
Mhm.
um, what our developer community or how our developer community is planning to use a database, right? So that was
Mhm.
definitely a very insightful uh,
Mhm.
um, uh, event, right?
Mhm.
So some of the outcomes that we saw, like a lot of this community or most of this developer community is, like you rightly mentioned, they're interested in AI. Now,
Mhm.
data services also has out of the box, we expose endpoints or system endpoints, which basically help you to use your chat to query feature as a
Mhm.
endpoint, right? So we
Mhm.
provide users with AI endpoints, and we did see that users were using them. And of course, the winner of hackathon, Convex AI, as you would have
Mhm.
heard, right? They were also using data services
Mhm.
basically they were using the AI endpoints, and they were using other mechanisms to basically access our database, right? So
Mhm.
use case, when you talk about use case, Ray, I think it's unlimited, to be honest, right? I
Right.
mean, there is
Right.
no anywhere you talk about data access patterns, right?
Mhm.
Which is a broader scale.
Right.
You could think of using data service, but I can get into some particular details or use cases, or a couple of them, right, which can help our
Yeah.
audiences. For
Right.
I touch base upon breaking down this monolithic application into microservices,
Mhm.
which is what I have done in the past for most of my projects as a developer, right, as an engineer.
Mhm.
What I realized is many a times when we move from a legacy application, a monolithic application, into microservices, what we are doing is we are just transporting the SQL behind the scene and converting them into endpoints, right? That is
Mhm.
most of the use cases. That's what we were doing. Now, data
Mhm.
service is a perfect platform for that, right?
Mhm.
If you are an enterprise, if you are a developer who is migrating your legacy application into which, and most of the case, like legacy applications were using SQL based databases, because
Mhm.
NoSQL were not, NoSQL and other type of SQL
Right.
database or other type of databases, they started gaining momentum later on, right? But these
Mhm.
legacy applications, most of them were built using SQL, or majority of them were built using SQL.
Mhm.
Now, moving them into RESTful services is a piece of cake when it comes to data services, right?
Mhm.
Especially when they are written using SQL. So what we
Right.
have today heavily supports SQL, right? So you can just lift
Right.
and shift your SQL statements and turn them into REST endpoints. So that is one use case where, hey, I have a lot of legacy applications, whichever domain it is, right? Energy domain
Right.
or telecom, doesn't matter. I have a lot of applications that are using SQL, and I want to
Mhm.
convert them, right? So that is one use
Right.
case into RESTful endpoints. The other kind of use cases are very interesting. Now, you would have heard about IoT data, right? Or so
Mhm.
I was working in the past for an energy company where we used to ingest a lot of smart meter data, which is another
Mhm.
IoT
Right.
device, right? So ingesting that data means volume of data, right?
Mhm.
At a speed that is like maybe thousands of transactions per second, right? So it's at
Mhm.
speed. You need scale because you need to also support the volume of data, right? Like I said. So that is one of the typical use case where data services, which enables you to build endpoints, our endpoints can scale. right?
Hmm.
You just throw at it and you'll scale, right? So that's how it is.
Right.
So that is another use case where if you have scenarios where you want to ingest some real-time streaming data into TiDB, you can build endpoints and you can consume
Hmm.
that data, right? So that is one other
Right.
use case. The other use case that I can really think about, which is very interesting again, is there are many third-party providers, for example, which can
Hmm.
be open source or free or not free. That doesn't matter. But what matters is these third-party providers, exposing certain webhooks. For example, GitHub
Hmm.
does that. GitHub is open source
Right.
and it exposes webhooks, right? You can subscribe to those webhooks and you
Mm.
can store the data that is coming out of the webhooks. One
Right.
classic example, other than GitHub, is any payment providers, right? So
Mm.
like we used to integrate with Chase payment provider. Chase payment provider would provide a webhook which says, "Hey, payment transaction is completed," right? You
Hmm.
can listen to it and update your TiDB database. So you can build a REST
Right.
endpoint that basically you are hooking it up with the webhook, and that
Right.
basically ingests the data or updates the data within TiDB. So that's another use case,
Right.
right?
Right.
One other very nice, I mean, there are a lot, I can keep talking. So say,
Right.
brokerage firm, you want to
Hmm.
listen to stock prices. You know how fast or there are so many stock ticker
Yeah.
symbols, and
Right.
how many times do this ticker symbol value changes during the day trading time, right?
Right.
That is a very interesting, a very useful use case where if I'm a brokerage firm, I would like to quickly insert the stock price,
Hmm.
newly generated stock price um, into TiDB, and then
Hmm.
maybe do analysis behind the scene, or maybe do something with that data later on, right?
Right.
So that is so you can do that easily by building
Right.
REST endpoints using data services, and
Right.
listen to the listen to those ticker changes and feed them into TiDB. So
Right.
this can keep going on and on and on, right?
Right.
Now, I also told you that we expose the chat to query feature using AI enabled endpoints, right? So
Hmm.
we have this chat to query feature exposed as AI endpoints. Now you can decide to even send prompts and get responses for those prompts,
Hmm.
right? Through the endpoints, like, hey, I want to create, for example, I want to create a customer table which
Right.
has these following fields. Can you give me the structure of the table? It will give you back the table. Or you can say, can you create it for me? It will create for you,
Hmm.
right? So you can do everything end to end when it comes to database with
Hmm.
using data services as such.
Cool. Okay, that sounds great. So possibilities are limitless if I were to act like a marketing person with the tagline, I guess. I mean, you mentioned hackathon. I mean, not just for data services. I mean, first of all, we had a large volume of projects, which in itself was impressive. But the interesting like ideas that different team presented was really amazing. I mean, even I'm definitely not as technical as you, Arun, but was were there like a really interesting like use cases or projects that piqued your interest, and sort of related to that, if people want to like provide feedback or talk to you about how they can use data services for their use case, what's the best way for them to sort of provide feedback? Is it through GitHub issues, or I mean that's like a two big questions, but uh, any order you like to address those, go ahead.
Yeah, see,
Yeah,
yes, thanks. Yeah, so
yeah,
absolutely. We want
yeah.
all of our viewers to definitely try out data services.
Hmm.
The most easy way to reach out to us is through our console, like TiDB console, where there's a option to give the feedback using the
Right.
question mark icon you
Yep.
see below, right?
Cool.
So
Yeah.
that is the easiest way to reach out to us.
Hmm.
And talking about the hackathon projects, yes, absolutely.
Hmm.
One of the things, one of the winner of hackathon,
Hmm.
Convex AI, I think that is one of the amazing projects that I think I like the most,
Hmm.
where it enables you to feed in some prompts as ideas, and
Hmm.
it materializes that into a workable project, right?
Hmm.
And what I'm proud and happy about is that the for the whole full-blown solution, the backend part was taken care by data services, right? So they use data service to build that backend solution. So I think that is pretty impressive when it comes to knowing how our end users are using data services, right?
Okay. Cool.
So yeah.
Yeah. I think what I'll do, I forgot to mention this early on, like in the podcast description, whether you're watching this on YouTube or on the podcast platforms, I'll add links to our documentation for page for data services, where you can get more info, and also link to the Convex AI. I mean, we mentioned it a couple of times, so I mean, you can take a look at that and other projects in our project gallery for the hackathon. So I mean, there are a number of other projects that you can take a look at. So for the listeners or people that are viewing, I mean, feel free to take a look at those as a reference. So I guess another question on data services. So I mean, we mentioned how people can like provide feedback through the console button. So what are like things that you're looking? What are some of your future plans that you have in mind for data services? Where would you like to take the journey forward?
Yeah, so I would answer that, but I would like to also let our audience know like why they should use data service. Like, what is the value add, right? And who is this for, right? So that now, once they have that perspective, I think they can, or then we can talk about the future plans too, right? Which aligns with those perspectives. So basically, our target audiences are any application developer, to be honest, right? So let it be a full stack developer, front end developer, or back end developer. But icing on the cake, even citizen developers, Ray. I mean, like enterprise who are short-handed, they don't have staff, right? They have, say, data analyst who may not be a full-blown developer, right? They can really be a helping hand if they are using data services, right? So citizen developers, because data service as such is a platform which is, you can call it a low-code platform, right? It's more of a configuration driven, more of a, it gives you more features out of the box, right? So, so that is so. So definitely those are our target audiences, right? You can, anybody can pitch in and start developing applications, backend applications, get-go, right? That is our goal. Now, more than that for enterprises, what is the value add, right? See, time to market, that is one of the most essential thing when it comes to application and its go live, right? Right from the cradle to grave, if you were to use the term, right? From inception to release, right? The time is the essence, right? There could be several factors when you say time to market, right? Do I have the right set of tools? Do I have the right set of resources like developers who are here to build, right? So anything and everything can attribute to that time factor, right? That is very important. And missing that time is very crucial when it comes to say you have a very brand new idea and you want to bring it to the market really quick, right? And you have you heard about a competitor who is also thinking, who do you want to go first? You are the competitor. It's absolutely you, right? You want to go first in the market. So that's very important. And data service gives you that, right? The data service tells you that, hey, don't worry about the infrastructure. Don't worry about hiring expensive developers or developers with maybe a Java skill or Python skill. You don't need that. You just need so you can basically get started really quick, right? Don't worry about deployment, scalability. Don't worry about all of that, right? For example, you need not even you do not worry about say caching, for example. So everything is available to you, right? So time to market is something we really take care of, right? You like importance of time to give a market. Who invented telephone? Do you
Who
remember
invented the telephone? This feels like a trap question, but I'm gonna just mention the first person that comes to mind, like Alexander Graham Bell. Isn't that who invented the phone?
That's all that's how the world knows, right? But this person, have you heard about Antonio Meucci?
No.
See, that's the thing, right? So time to market, he was the one who actually implemented a communication device, right? But nobody is
Okay.
aware of it because of the time to market. Who got the patent first? Alexander
Okay.
Graham Bell, right? So
Right.
that's how important time to market is. And
Right.
I remember back in those days when Facebook, maybe I have not even heard about it, maybe, right? And
Hmm.
there was something called Orkut by Google, which is dead today, right? And again,
Okay.
the reason is the features that Facebook developed was
Right.
not developed on time by Oracle, right? So
Right.
time to market is very important, and that is one thing that is available to you out of the box as a value add,
Right.
right? When it comes to data service. Now, the other thing that I really want to emphasize is cost effectiveness. Now,
Hmm.
I was recently talking to a friend and who used to subscribe for a sports channel, right?
Hmm.
And he's a non-IT guy, and he was like, "Hey,
Hmm.
I used to subscribe for this channel, and I used to pay like upfront
Hmm.
$100,
Hmm.
right? Whereas today, and this is like he said 10 years ago or a few years ago, right? But
Hmm.
today, he is paying only if he needs it, right? Which model
Hmm.
is better, right?
Right.
If I need it, right? So same
Yeah.
thing with
Yeah.
with data services. It's pay as you go, right? Right
Hmm.
now, at this point of time, as we speak, we are in beta, so our pricing model is still being determined.
Hmm.
But the idea behind this is like we want anyone and everyone to try it out. No need to pay upfront for any heavy infrastructure cost or anything like that. Just
Hmm.
try. Initially, today it's absolutely free. Just go and try it out, right? And see
Hmm.
if it suits your needs. So and then again, you need not hire or invest in expensive resources, right? This
Hmm.
is like I said, even a citizen developer can help you, right? So
Cool.
right, and then there's no less maintenance cost, overhead, and everything is on us, right? It's on the house side
Right.
of it.
Right.
So right, so we are trying our best to make sure that you are at ease, like the consumers of our data service. You are at ease,
Hmm.
right? You need not worry about anything and everything, and we will take care of that, right? We will take care of your we'll take care of owning any challenges with respect to cost on us, right? So
Hmm.
something that is very important or essential to know, right? So that
Right.
is something that I really wanted to mention. And then, of course, we are fully managed. That I
Hmm.
want to emphasize more than once because I know building systems from scratch is very very challenging, right? And every
Hmm.
time you build a system, it's a new time. It's a new thing, right? Every time it's
Hmm.
like, oh, I learned this from the past, but oh, I felt I had this challenge, right? So you're doing the same thing, but you face a new challenge every time when you're building things, right?
Right.
Here, what we do, we are giving you everything effortlessly, right? We are giving you everything based on configuration. You're just clicking a few buttons and you're getting
Hmm.
these mammoth features. Like I was talking to you about caching. You're
Hmm.
just getting it at you click a switch, caching is available to you, right? Your data
Cool.
that you're
Yeah.
using your REST endpoints can be cached,
Right.
right?
Right.
So there are several other features. Like I would definitely like our
Right.
viewers to look into that. But what I want to emphasize is again, I want to go back to our mission where we say that we want to empower our engineers and enterprise. Right,
Right.
that is very very important, right? And
Right.
we are in this with data service. We are fully empowering them. We are saying you do what you want, right? We are there
Right.
for you. We are giving you all the bells and whistles, right?
Hmm.
So that is so now keeping all this in mind, what is
Hmm.
there for us in the future, right? Now,
Hmm.
I don't want to make any forward-looking statements yet, but what I want to emphasize to our users is that, or our viewers, is that we want to continue this path of, building such scalable solutions, such robust solutions, which is easy to use, right?
Hmm.
There are certain things like providing some observability, like metrics, logs that we want to implement.
Right.
We are still our endpoints are still we are heavily SQL, right? We are
Hmm.
thinking about also leveraging other programming languages in future, right? But this is all like
Right.
up in the air. We are still thinking,
Right.
but I think what we have today can definitely cover a large number of audiences,
Right.
and I think. Whatever we build, like I want to re-emphasize, whatever we build, I think we want to build with developers in mind, right? Because
Right.
they are the one who are use it ultimately.
Right. No, I mean, I think observability support for other, excuse me, other languages, that's, I think a lot of people would be pretty interested in. But if there's anything else that we didn't talk about today, I mean, like Arun mentioned, feel free to provide us with feedback through the console, and then I'm sure we'll definitely take a look at those requests. Yeah, I think you went through the list of questions that I had for data services. As listeners know, we close with a trivia question. Arun, despite your background, he's not coming to us from the International Space Station, but Arun's based in Dallas, Texas. I mean, Dallas it's a large city. I haven't been there in a long time, but I think most listeners and viewers would be at least know of Dallas. But what are some things about Dallas, Texas that you want to share with that people may not know about?
So Ray, I mean, it's an interesting question, and I think it's very important for the viewers to know. So I've been in Dallas for 20 years now,
Mm-hmm.
and I think one of the things that I really admire and I don't try to miss, I mean, unless, with the exceptions of COVID,
Mm-hmm.
is the Texas State Fair. I think that's the largest fair that ever happens in the US, right? So that is
Wow,
one thing
cool.
that I think it's
Yeah,
very interesting for the
yeah.
viewers. And if at all any of the viewers come to Dallas, don't do plan to come during the Texas State Fair.
All right,
That's
cool.
it's you will not regret. Other things that I found interesting is Dallas has the most number of restaurants. I mean, the last I saw was about 11,000 restaurants, right, in
Wow,
Dallas, right? That's
it's
too much, I
amazing.
think.
So more than like New York, Miami, or LA. Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly, right. And
Yeah.
the other interesting thing, which I actually recently was planning to buy LP, like the record player,
Mm-hmm.
and I found that Dallas has the largest store of record player. So
Really?
yeah, or the
Wow.
records, not the record player, but the
Yeah.
records, right? So that is
Yeah.
interesting, Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, these are some interesting, and of course, Dallas weather is very unpredictable.
Right.
You need to have a leather jacket, an umbrella,
Right.
both on the same day.
Okay.
The weather
Cool.
changes.
No, I love getting these travel tips. So those music fans out there, if you want to score a nice LP record, I guess Dallas is a place to go. Cool. Well, thanks Arun for enlightening us not just about Dallas, Texas, but also about data services. And I'm sure we'll have you back soon when on not just on data services, but other topics on TiDB. So
Absolutely.
appreciate it. And then for listeners, we'll see you or we'll talk to you during the next episode. Thanks, Arun.
Thank you, Ray.